And are you still not subscribed to Matt's channel? Well, if you're not, hit the subscribe button because he's giving out free picks each and every week. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
UFC Vegas 98 Fight Night card. Royval versus Taira back at the Apex, guys. Not a great card. Not a great card. But we expect that when we see some Fight Night cards at the Apex. Like always, though, I will be breaking down the main card, provide free picks, leans, price talks, fades, and more. Systemsportscapping.com is the website, or link.me/systemcapping for all my links there to the podcast, to the website, articles, free picks, client opportunities, and more. Expect a small card this weekend, but also handicapping NFL, PGA, NHL at low volume right now. NHL season has started. Just for you viewers that may be interested in the NHL, I do bet it at a low volume. Maybe a better to a week. Low volume. Futures already have been sent out. We have a best bet in the future market. I like the future market a little better in the NHL than betting every day in the regular season. I pick spots, back-to-backs, tough road trips, stuff like that. So it is at lower volume in the NHL. Apex, yes, I mentioned this is at the Apex. When will this go away, right? When will the Apex cards go away? That's the big question, right? I just can't still believe it's a thing. I get during COVID and, it was a great idea then. But we continue to see it. Smaller cage one, that's an issue. People are fighting and fighters are fighting in bigger cages their whole life, then they got to come to this smaller cage. So that's one thing that I never really understood. Can you fit a bigger cage in there? I don't know. I don't know the logistics of it, but I'm sure you could. It was mind-boggling. And then obviously no crowd or limited crowd. Right, they have a limited crowd now, I think like 100 people, but it's like friends and family and like other fighters from what I heard. So, yeah, I just can't wait till these Apex cards are just gone. I kind of understand, and I do think Dana White mentioned it about the road, the travel, and, smaller cards like this. People will still go, right? But are you excited to go to this card? Would I go out of my way and if it was in my city to go to this card live? No. So I kind of do get that. I would rather just watch it on TV. I like watching it on TV better anyways. I've been to UFC fights before, but watching it on TV is a better experience, in my opinion. Let's get into a UFC 307 recap. And it was the first tough pay-per-view card from pretty much the whole year for myself. And there were some tough beats, bad beats, and this is what I was able to avoid, right? You guys knew that record all year was 80%. Now it's a little further down. And it was average line plus money. And continue. All these bets this week were plus money. Some tough ones, and we'll talk about it. The one good one we were on, Pereira by finish. I gave it out to you guys as well. Pereira by finish, and what a fight we had, right? Legendary fight. This was probably one of the best fights I have seen in... Give me a minute. Probably one of the best fights that I've seen, I would say from a striking standpoint and heart standpoint, right? This is Roundtree's probably, I would say, coming out party, if you want to say that, right? I don't know if you really want to necessarily say we did not expect him to come out like that. I expected him to show up on the feet, but not win rounds. He was able to steal rounds, which was very impressive. And I do believe he won maybe 1 or 2 rounds. I would say probably 2 rounds. But that was Pereira's game plan. Pereira's game plan was to draw the fight out, get it to the 3rd and 4th round where we expected Roundtree to be in unfamiliar territories. And you saw him gassing, and he wasn't able to take the punishment down the stretch. But a ton of heart from Roundtree. Roundtree is definitely someone that is, I'm a fan of now. I'm not saying I wasn't a fan before, but now I'm a little more of a fan. And I can't wait to see him fight next. He gave one of, obviously, Adesanya beat Pereira, but, round 2 was right up there with one of his toughest fights. And even Pereira mentioned that as well. So I mentioned I was on that. The co-main I did not touch, but Pena got the job done. Tough. It was a flip of a coin, right? I don't think the judges really got it wrong there, but it could have went either way, right? The bad beats for me, I had Aldo plus 110. I thought he won round 2 and 3. I think most people agree with me. When you're, I think, 0 for 12 on takedowns, Batista, I think that's a positive for Aldo. I think you should score that, right? And then you're just holding him up against the cage for probably, I would say, 70% of the fight, maybe 65. You're not doing anything there. Now, you could comment and say he's controlling him on the cage. Aldo should get out of there. I get that. But damage is the first thing, right? I'm pretty sure Batista was cut open. I don't think, besides the first round, I do believe Batista won that first round. He had a nice elbow in there, but he didn't hurt Aldo at all. I do believe Aldo hurt and stunned Batista multiple times in that fight. I do believe he won round 2 and 3. Right? But you're going to give it to Batista, who went 0 for 12 on takedowns and just held the guy against the cage. And when he was holding him against the cage, he wasn't even throwing anything. Right? He was just trying to avoid striking distance with Aldo. So I don't agree with the decision there. Tough beat there. Close. You could say it was a close fight and Aldo could have done more. But the bet was to back Aldo at plus money. Right? That was the only way you could really look. The other couple bad beats were Holland. I had the Holland fight over 2.5 rounds, and he just got a random rib injury, not even from a punch or a kick. So that was a tough beat there. And then Thompson and Buckley over 2.5 rounds, and it ended with 10 seconds left on that 2:30 mark in the third round, and there was no threat of that fight ending at all. No threat, right? The whole time Thompson was able to avoid the big power shots, and then a random wild hook from Buckley caught Thompson with 10 seconds left. So these are the bad beats that you have to try to avoid if you want to go on long runs, and we've been able to do that. This week we weren't, right? So those are going to come. I do think all the plays were still right. It's just bad luck with at least 2 of those. The one was more of a judge. Right? It could have gone either way, so I'm not going to count that as too much of a bad beat, even though I do believe Aldo won. UFC update. Let's do a UFC update 28 and 10 now. Pay-per-view cards for the year. Average line plus money 75%. Last week we had a nice week on the greens. Profitable in both PGA and DP World Tour. We hit an outright back on top of the outright market plus 1100 on Terrell Hatton. He got it done on the DP World Tour. I do bet the DP World Tour when PGA is slower. Like this time of the year, you'll see a lot of PGA golfers go to the DP World Tour. Also, some live golfers as well. So I do handicap the DP World Tour during this time and big events. It's 14 outrights on the year, guys. Start of the tournament. Keep that in mind. Let's get right into this card. Shop around, have multiple books. I mention that all the time. Royval plus 225 versus Taira minus 275. A big price here on the Japanese fighter in his biggest test yet, right? Royval's coming off a big win over Moreno, split decision win. He has fought the best of the best in this division, right? Pantoja was the fight before that, right? So Royval has been there, done that, fought the best of the best, and he's had some nice wins as well. Now, most of his wins are over lower tier guys besides that Moreno win. Something to keep in mind. Taira, he's been running through the division. back-to-back finishes. Now, a nice win last time versus Perez. However, how it happened wasn't so nice. Perez hurt his knee, freak accident, similar to the Rib Holland accident, right? Kind of blew out his knee. Taira was trying to take credit for it, I believe, because he took him down or something. I don't know. I don't know what he was saying after that, but it's still a good win on his resume. Perez is a good fighter. That's going to be his best win, right? But prior to that, just no big names, just all lower tier guys, even though he has been running through them. Keep in mind also, Perez was winning that fight. Perez won that first round, second round. He was looking good, so that is something to keep in mind. The reason we see this big price, in my opinion, two things, right? One, big-time prospect, UFC trying to push him. I get he's a good fighter, and the takedowns. I think that's the big difference here. Good wrestler, has some grappling, but the takedown defense on Royval has always been bad, and it's at 40%, guys. So the game plan and the path is fairly easy. It should be for Taira if he's able to avoid the big shots on the feet. Royval throws a ton of volume. In that Moreno fight, he was throwing a ton of volume. Royval also have sneaky submission game as well, guys, right? So Taira's going to have to be careful with that. But his game plan is to control him on the ground, right? Get the takedowns, control him on the ground. Win the fight there. Now, we haven't seen Taira in a 5-round fight like this before. This is his toughest test yet. Royval, I do believe, has the better striking. I do believe he has the better submission game. It's going to come down to the takedowns. And that's why you're going to see the big price here on the Japanese fighter. The path is there for him to win the fight. Now, can I bet him at minus 275? He hasn't shown me he can win in a big spot like this? No. Right? It's very difficult for me to bet him at this price. Even though I'm leaning his way. The value is obviously on Royval at plus 225. Right? I mentioned multiple reasons why. Resume advantage, been in these big spots before. The price, obviously. Going to have the striking advantage. Has that sneaky submission game if Taira gets it down to the ground. So at plus 225, if you're going to put a smaller unit on it, I wouldn't call you crazy. Again, if Taira stays to the game plan, just wrestles and takes him down and controls him and make it an ugly fight, he's probably going to win this fight. So that's my thoughts on this main event here. Value, smaller unit on Royval, plus 225. You can even maybe wait for a live market. If Taira wins the first round or looks good in the first round with the takedowns, Royval's probably going to go up to like plus 400. So that's something also to keep in mind if you want to look at that market. I'm not going to bet Taira at this price at 275. Will I have a small unit at 225 Royval? I'll shop around. Maybe I can even get a better price. Possibly. It possibly could make my card. This is this type of card. You may want to take a few chances. Not the best card out there. And the co-main will tell you that, right? It's not the best card out there. Tavares plus 150 versus Park minus 175. It's tough co-main event here, guys. Both guys coming off losses. Tavares is on the wrong side of his career for a while now. He continues to fight, and I like to watch him strike. He has some good striking abilities, limited power. He looks good, like on the feed, right? He looks the part, but the power's not there. Just limited ground game and wrestling. Just kind of hard to see where he wins this fight. Park 4-1 in his last 5. Has the stat advantage pretty much everywhere here. The stand-up would be close, and you kind of expect this fight to, just play out on the feet and just go to the judges' scorecards. That's what you kind of expect here. Tavares has been hard to finish in the past, and his takedown defense is very good at 82%. Park could look for a takedown here, but I don't think he'll get it. So I do believe he'll just stay on the feet. And, Park has had struggles also with his takedown defense, but Tavares doesn't wrestle. He just doesn't. It's been years since he has a takedown. Right? So the only way I could lean is, Park here. The price at minus 170. Do you want to bet Park at minus 175? It's not intriguing. Maybe improve the price, go by decision. Right? Park by decision. Could be a look if you can get plus money out there. Hard to see where Park finishes him. Right? Like I mentioned, it would have to be a big shot on the feet. Is Park known for big KO power on the feet? No. So, I would lean the decision here if I were to back this fight. Over 2.5 rounds also could be a look. Grant Dawson's back, guys. And he's priced, I would say, a little wildly at minus 400 versus Garcia. Plus 300. Big price here on Dawson, right? A guy with a poor chin, not the best cardio. Always hard to back a guy at minus 400 with those concerns, right? Also very low volume. All you're banking on is him to control the wrestling and get him to the ground, maybe even find a submission. That's what you're banking on if you're backing Dawson here. Garcia, not high on the guy, doesn't KO guys. He'll put some volume on. And I do think he's the better striker, right? He has the volume advantage here. Dawson's very low, right? Garcia is just over 4 significant strikes per minute. Dawson's very low, under 3. Dawson got back on track versus Selecki in his last fight. I rewatched that fight, actually, a couple days ago. He had that tough loss to Bobby Green, right? And that's where the chin came into effect. The chin issues with Dawson. Now, Garcia, I just don't really expect him to hurt Dawson on the feet. I don't think the chin will really play a factor here. Garcia would have to win this fight due to his volume. His grappling's decent, but it's not going to be better than Dawson's. I expect Dawson to win this fight. Just very hard to bet, right? So if you want to try to improve it, you could play the decision. It's a little more risky, though. Right, we could see a ground and pound style Dawson finish, even maybe a submission later in this fight. Very possible. But yeah, you would have to back Dawson here due to the bounce back against Selecki. And he's going to have a wrestling advantage here. And if he's able to just control Garcia on the ground, he should be able to win this fight. Again, a couple concerns with the chin and the tough cardio we've seen at times with Dawson. So minus 400, obviously not worth the price. But I do expect Dawson to get the win. McKenna, plus 110 versus Polestri, minus 138. Ugly one here, guys. Ugly, low-tier MMA, women's MMA fight, right? Both ladies coming off losses. McKenna, I would say, has a slight resume advantage when I went back and looked at her resume. Polestri, from her stats and watching a little bit of her tape, will have a striking advantage here, along with volume. Okay. I also like the reach advantage here for Polestri, 63-inch compared to McKenna's 58. That could play a little bit of a factor here in this fight. On this fight, if it does stay standing, McKenna, I expect to try to get this fight down to the ground, right? When we look at the grappling here, Polestri actually has good grappling. I just think her wrestling may not be the best. She does have poor takedown defense so far in her limited fights. McKenna's path here would be to wrestle. Her IQ has been spotty at times. She's averaging over 2 takedowns a fight. So go to that. Don't try to strike with her. But we've seen McKenna try to strike. In her last fight, she tried to stay on the feet. Her path was to take the fight down to the ground, and she didn't. And she just tried to strike, and she lost a striking battle. So how is she going to play out this fight? It's tough to say. It's low-tier women's MMA, guys. You know my thoughts on these fights. Stay away if you're going to bet it and you're degenerate and you have to bet all these fights. Do a smaller unit. I'm going to lean the favorite here, Polestri, but I'm not betting this fight at all. Daniel Rodriguez is back. Minus 200 versus Morono, plus 170. Could be a sneaky good brawl here. We know guys like to throw volume on the feet, like to bang. I expect it to be on the feet for the most part. Morono's not really known for taking down guys, even though he does have some good jiu-jitsu, but his takedown accuracy is not great. Rodriguez, we know he struggles with grapplers. He struggles with his wrestling, and he likes to stay on the feet. If Rodriguez can just, keep a fight standing for the most part, he's usually fairly successful. Unless your name's Ian Gary. But like the previous 3 losses he has, 3 losses in a row, Magny, right? And more of a grappler wrestler. Gary was the one he got caught with that kick. We know how good Gary is. And then Gaslam wrestled and used some grappling in that fight, right? So he's looking to avoid 4 straight losses, right? So that's something you kind of, do you want to back someone at minus 200 or, losing 3 fights in a row? Not really, but you can also look at the angle where you're saying his backup is against the wall. I'm not going to say he would get cut, but it wouldn't be too pretty for him. So backup is against the wall. And I think the matchup is fairly well. I don't think Moreno's going to have success bringing him down to the ground. So if this is just a striking battle, you would have to look at Rodriguez. But if it does get to the ground, Moreno does have a sneaky good submission game, and he's going to be the much better grappler. So let's see. Let's see if Moreno can get him down to the ground. I don't love backing Rodriguez at this price at minus 200, even though I do believe he should win this fight. He's just going to have to keep it standing. Price sucks, right? Price sucks on... I just like the spot, and the matchup is probably his best matchup he's had for a while. Right? He's been fighting very tough opponents, guys. Moreno, not so much. Also, Moreno's gas tank has been a concern for me at times, watching him deeper into the fights. Rodriguez hasn't really shown that, unless he's wrestling. I don't expect him to wrestle. I just expect him to kind of make it a brawl, and that's what he likes to do. The former gang member was in a lot of brawls on the street. That's how he fights. That's how he continues to fight. Doesn't really try to improve his wrestling and grappling much. So they're giving him a matchup he should be able to win. So let's look at Rodriguez. If you look at an outcome here, you probably would lean the decision over 2.5 rounds. But he could hurt Moreno at some point on the feet. It's not a for sure. I would lean the decision here to improve that price. Last fight we'll talk about here, Hassan. He's back, minus 175 versus Fremd, plus 150. Both guys, haven't seen a win for a few years now. Hassan, last time out, it was a no contest versus Brundage. Keep that in mind. And then he fought Pfeiffer. Tough fight there, right, against Pfeiffer. Lost that one, no shame there. Back-to-back losses for Fremd versus Petrosky and Kopylov. Not easy fights for either of these guys here. So I guess not a ton of shame for their losing streak here. Hassan, we know he's going to have the big power advantage. Even volume as well. Fremd's very low volume. Fremd's 2.6 significant strikes landed per minute, guys. Some of the lowest you're going to see. Right? Hassan, I do believe, is improving that cardio. We know his cardio is an issue. Right? That's where Fremd's going to have the advantage here. If this fight goes down to the 3rd round, Fremd's going to have that cardio advantage. No concerns with his cardio advantage. Right? But I can see also Hassan maybe get this fight down to the ground. He'll be the stronger guy in there. Right? 30% takedown defense for Fremd. Even though Fremd does have some college wrestling background, it just doesn't it doesn't look like it really transitions over to the MMA well. His takedowns are below 1 as well. So not sure really how Fremd wins this fight. No power on the feet. Where does he win this fight? I don't really see it, guys. So I would have to look at Hassan. The only way, like I mentioned, Fremd could win this fight if it goes to the 3rd round and Hassan gasses out. Fremd kind of just takes over. It's possible, but I have Hassan probably winning this fight 7 out of 10 times. So that probably would get me, interested a little bit on him at minus 175. Tough to bet straight up. Maybe 2-fight parlay piece, something like that. That will do it, guys. That will do it. Not the best card, but like always, I'll be watching it from the first fight to the end. I watch all fights, never miss a card unless, some sort of emergency or family thing or something. I've maybe missed one all year. Yeah, 1 or 2 maybe. One all year, I think. I miss due to family obligations. That will do it, guys. That will do it. Like I always say, bet smart and know your limits. Check out my NFL Week 6 podcast out tomorrow. Enjoy this card.